In April 2026, global power blocks are hardening. With the United States leaning closer to Pakistan, new geopolitical boundaries are forming across the map. For a legally non-aligned nation like India, this kind of polarization is a calculated risk. When superpowers begin to demand exclusivity, countries caught in the middle face the threat of strategic isolation. To navigate these shifts, New Delhi often relies on its partnership with Moscow. This relationship is rooted in the 1971 Indo-Pakistan War, when the Soviet Union provided the diplomatic and military backing India needed to secure its borders. To understand India's current strategy, we have to look at two specific developments. Together, they address gaps in hardware and logistics that have historically left the nation vulnerable to external pressure. At the micro scale, there is the rifle, a new standard-issue infantry weapon being produced domestically to reduce the Army's reliance on foreign supply lines. At the macro scale, there is the Pact, a maritime logistics agreement that stretches from the warm waters of the Indian Ocean to the Arctic. Taken together, these are the physical mechanics of a country working to reduce its dependence on foreign military hardware and global maritime choke points. For decades, the Indian Army relied on the INSAS rifle, but that platform is aging, and the military has begun the process of replacing it. The replacement is the AK-203, nicknamed the Share. It weighs 3.8 kilograms, utilizes 180 subcomponents, and fires roughly 700 rounds per minute. The strategic value of the weapon is tied to where it is made, the Indo-Russia Rifles joint venture in Amethi, Uttar Pradesh. While the Indian Air Force initially purchased 70,000 of these rifles directly from Russia, the remaining order of over 600,000 units for the Army is transitioning to local production. The objective is full domestic indigenization. By utilizing a network of local vendors, the assembly lines are intended to produce every one of the rifle's components within India. Producing this rifle at scale inside its own borders addresses a specific risk. It ensures that frontline infantry units remain equipped even if international sanctions or diplomatic shifts interrupt traditional shipping routes. While the factories address infantry hardware, New Delhi is addressing maritime logistics through a pact called RELOS, the Reciprocal Exchange of Logistics Support Agreement. The pact enforces specific legal limits, a maximum of 3,000 troops, 5 warships, and 10 military aircraft. Yet this expands the Indian Navy's reach. Utilizing Russian bases for refueling grants Indian vessels access to maritime routes extending to Vladivostok and Murmansk. Access to Murmansk is a specific maritime priority. As melting ice opens the Northern Sea route, India is securing a logistical foothold in a region that is becoming increasingly important for energy and trade. In return, Moscow gains logistical depth. Russian fleets can utilize Indian ports for sustainment, granting them greater endurance in the Indian Ocean region. RELOS effectively grants both navies the ability to sustain long-range deployments without the formal obligations of a mutual defense treaty. India is simultaneously building a domestic infantry supply chain and extending its naval reach into the Arctic. This level of operational cooperation raises a question. Is New Delhi choosing a side in the growing rivalry between Moscow and Washington? This graphic shows how India manages that balance. While it holds the RELOS Pact with Russia, New Delhi maintains a similar logistics agreement with the United States, known as LAMOA. This is strategic autonomy, the doctrine of engaging rival power centers simultaneously to avoid becoming dependent on any single formal bloc. Maintaining these parallel, regulated agreements ensures that India's military readiness is less vulnerable to the shifting diplomatic priorities of any one superpower. The AK-203 rifle and the RELOS Maritime Pact address different ends of the military spectrum, but they function as the physical levers India is using to maintain its strategic options in an increasingly divided world.